Gene, look at the two of us committed to the
I know.
podcast.
I know.
I
I know.
mean, we came prepared.
Yep.
Welcome, everybody, to episode 146 of Disney with the Ducks. Tonight, you've got me, John Kroll, and I'm joined by my friends Gene,
Hi.
Jody,
Hi, friends.
and Lonnie.
Bah humbug.
Okay, well, there's got to be one in every crowd, right?
Right.
Normally, Jeff plays that role, but now Lonnie's here. Okay, so we've got quite a crew tonight, and we're going to ask you guys to do us a favor and go out and give us a 5-star review, please. If you could go to your podcatcher of choice, give us 5 stars, and then write some good words. And if you want to share your favorite episode with your friends, I think we'd all appreciate that. And your friends would really appreciate it. All right, so tonight we're going to ask a question like we do every week and try to get to know each other a little better and give some insight into our crazy brains, for our listeners to better understand where we're coming from. All right, so tonight's question, it's hard-hitting. That is a question mark. It's a hard-hitting, it's a deep thought question. Eggnog, yes or no? Gene?
100% yes. Eggnog is so good. And my dad drank it, brings back memories. Nobody in my house appreciates eggnog. They think it's gross. They're stupid.
Okay. Wow. Hopefully we can edit that to make sure your family hears that part.
I'm gonna make sure I'm clear when he says that. When I edit this one, I tell you. So yeah.
All right. Jody, what do you got? Are you a yes or a no?
As my cup indicates, I am a yes. And like you, Gene, my father also drank eggnog, and that's how I got started on the eggnog. And nobody else in my family likes it either. Just me.
Wow.
But here's an interesting thing. Do you drink it with any spirits added to it?
Sometimes, not tonight. It's just eggnog.
I've never actually had it with any alcohol in it. My dad didn't drink when I was a kid, and I currently don't drink. And when I was at an age when I did, when I did, I had no desire. I mean, why would I mix it with that? But so I never have. I just like it straight out the cow. You know what I'm saying?
That's when I offer it to my family members. I say, "Would you like it nogged or not nogged?" That's how I say it to them.
Interesting.
All right. Yeah.
All right. Lonnie, what are your thoughts on eggnog?
Yeah, that's a fat no, John. I do not like eggnog, but I will tell you this: I have had the eggnog daiquiri in New Orleans. That's that one's okay. That's okay. But for me, just getting some eggnog and drinking it, I'm gonna go ahead and just pass on that.
Okay. Wow. Lonnie, you're
Number
wrong.
one, because Gene likes it, so I'm gonna go against Gene anyway. I'm anti-Gene,
Okay.
so there you go.
Well, I'm very pro Gene, and I'm going with Gene on this one. I love eggnog.
I'm John too.
I like both the child friendly version, or the non-nogged version in Jody's language, and I like the nogged version. So I'm good either way. If I'm watching TV with the kids and we're watching a Christmas special, obviously I want the one with the extra nog in it. But if I'm by myself and I'm just kind of working or something, I'll drink the plain eggnog. But no, I do really enjoy it, and that's one of the benefits of this time of year is it's all over the place.
Gosh, dog it! I want to go to the store right now and get some eggnog.
You really should. And a lot of the time, though, the problem here is that Kara can't have any dairy stuff. So
You should, Gene. You should get off and go
almond
right
milk.
now. Why don't you think? Why don't you get off and go get some right now?
Do it.
He's
I
from the
would-
Lebanon.
I wouldn't make it that easy for you, Lonnie. You've been trying
All right.
to get me kicked off here for years. Not
So-
gonna happen.
Eggnog, though. Okay. Eggnog, though. You're not going to drink it on a 95-degree day in the humidity walking through Magic Kingdom, right? Eggnog is a wintry beverage, and you drink it when it's cold out, right? And there's not a whole lot of cold days at Disney, but there definitely are some cold days at Disney. So tonight we're going to talk about some tips and tricks on how to deal with Walt Disney World when you're freezing cold, much like it is up here in the Detroit area today, because we're talking mid-December. I mean, we got up to a balmy 38 today. The ice almost started melting, so that's a plus. But no, I mean, when you look at when you first proposed this topic, Jody, I'm thinking like there's like 3 cold days a year there, right? But then I started looking at the monthly averages, and the average low in December is 55, and in January it's 52, and then it goes back up to 55 in February. That can get pretty chilly, especially in the evening. So that's what we want to talk about today, is kind of how we manage that, how you deal with it when you're in the parks all day, and if you're just going down to Florida and trying to get away from things for a bit, are you packing your parka?
And I think you just said the key phrase though was when you're in the parks all day. Because if it's 55 at home, you may go out for a walk or a run, or you may go from your house to your car to the office or whatever, but you're probably not spending 10 hours at a time outside where you're standing for a long period of time and then going in maybe an indoor element and the back outdoor, like for multiple hours a day. My guess. I mean, maybe you work outside, I don't know. But for most of us, I think we're not doing that. So 50 something may not seem that cold, especially to you, like you and me, John. It gets cold where we live. But after a long day, that can get darn right chilly.
Yeah. And I'll put this out there as well. They're giving the average temperature. I remember 2 years ago, and Dopey was crazy cold. So much so, I remember the announcer said, and they were serious. They said, if you see an iguana laying on the ground, do not bring him inside. Saying, "Oh, this ain't going," because he'll warm up and then he'll be a feisty iguana. So it's the average is 50. But
that's ridiculous. That did not happen. There's no way anybody said that. I don't believe you, Lonnie.
I'm telling you, he said it. Oh no, you weren't at that, Dopey. I think that's when but he did say that, because apparently if he said it, that means somebody did it, right? Somebody had to grab an iguana and bring him inside and be like, "Oh, poor."
Rubbed his belly. He said,
right. He's like, he's ornery. He's cantankerous. And so yeah. And the first Dopey we ran, what was the temperature out there?
Oh, it was like -14. It was so cold. I'm telling you, like when you talked about this, when you brought up this subject, Jody, that is exactly what I thought of. The first time I went to Disney with my family, it dropped down to the 50s in February, March, and we looked at the temperatures, and it was supposed to be in the 60s and 70s, and it wasn't. It dropped down cooler. We had to buy clothes. We had to buy sweatshirts and such, and we've done that several times. But that time that Lonnie's talking about, it was deathly cold, and it was the coldest I've ever been in my life. Maybe.
And what Dopey was that? What year?
2018.
That was
2018.
2018. And to
So
Gene's
cold.
point, on my first trip to Disney was back in 2006. That was our first family trip, and we watched the weather and everything before we went. And we went there, and don't trust them. That's the number one tip.
They lie. What other job can you have?
Rain
and
came
wrong
through,
so
and
much?
it dropped the temperature down to like the 30s, and
Yep.
the shelves were bare
20s.
because everybody bought all of the clothes, and we bought hats, we bought sweaters, we bought jackets. We had to buy another
Long
piece of
johns.
luggage to bring everything back. I mean, it was crazy. So don't
Hand
trust the
warmers?
average temperature in Disney. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, no, and it's a good idea too to check the weather, like, and pack as close to your trip as possible, especially in those winter months, because like you said, I mean, it can be 80 degrees during the day and then it can go down to 50 at night. Like, that's a huge swing, and you're going to feel that, right? So what are some of the things you guys do when you're packing for your park day? What's one of the strategies you use, Jody?
Layers. So you may not be able to button your pants because you have so many layers on, but it's better to have more and take them off if you get warm than not to have them and be freezing. So it's interesting you're talking about like the major swing in temperatures. Princess 2020 on Expo Day, I have a picture of my girlfriend and I picking up our bibs in a t-shirt and shorts. The last day we were touring in the park, we had on winter coats, hats, gloves, the whole 9 yards, and multiple layers of pants. And that was from Thursday to Sunday. That's how fast it switched. So pay attention and grab all the layers. I'm a big believer in Smart Wool. I think Smart Wool is, it keeps you warm and it's not itchy and it's nice. You have some on right now, Gene?
No, I'm just saying, you said I'm a fan of Smart Wool, and I'm saying it's smart. It's
It is
to bring
smart.
Mhm.
Yeah. So
I was tapping my forehead.
Oh, for being smart. Yeah, I'm a big fan of smart wool and wearing that as one of your base layers. But I think layers are your friend, and you can always. There's lockers in the parks. You can always take something off if you get too hot. But it's really hard once you get cold. It's really hard to get warm again.
Mm-hmm.
And getting those layers from the Disney parks when you're there, like you said, Lonnie, they could be sold out, or you're going to be paying $80 a sweatshirt for your entire family, which really add up. So if you can bring like a packable vest or a jacket or something, those kind of things, like some of the down, like Gene, like what you're wearing, like just like a down vest. They pack down real small, and that type of thing is really good.
I wore this on purpose because I like this for that layering exercise. You can wear a sweatshirt, and if you've got this shoved in a backpack or something, you can pull it out, and that's maybe all I need as another layer. Another thing I was gonna it's rare to see in the daytime, even whenever, like, I've got pictures back here of us bundled up for that dopey that Lonnie was talking about. But during the day, I was wearing joggers, and I did have a jacket on, it's like a sweatshirt or whatever, a half zip or something, and a jacket, and lose the jacket at some point, and it wasn't terribly cold during the day. I mean, I needed something, but it was during race time that it was so cold. But like Jody said, those layers, like, you're not going to be at Disney World in the heat of the day. You're not going. I say the heat of the day, in noontime or whatever, 3 o'clock. You're probably not going to need a snow parka, but you might have a couple layers, and that maybe you have to shed the layer in the hottest part of the day and shove it in a backpack or a locker or whatever. But when the sun goes down, you might need it at that point, or if it gets, if it's overcast or whatever, it's going to get cooler.
Yeah. And when that sun goes down, it can make a big difference there. So it's just like anywhere else, but I feel like it's a more drastic drop when we're at Disney and the sun goes down versus at home. Another thing too, beyond layers, that I like to do is schedule all of our shows in the evening. So like go see PhilharMagic, after the sun goes down at 8 o'clock or whatever in the evening. And do those inside shows where the weather it's in a weather controlled or temperature controlled room, and you don't have to worry about it, that type of thing. So that's something too, is like go out and ride the rides, because you may not have as big a crowds either, especially if you're from the north and it's a cold day. You're not going to probably have the locals to deal with, that type of thing. So it'll reduce a lot of the traffic in the parks. What was that?
Yeah.
Gene.
Is Gene? Oh, I thought Gene was making like a French pressed coffee or something.
No, I was just pouring water into my water bottle, and it was going.
Okay. Your microphone works very well.
I like to say it's Gene doing Gene things.
This is Disney with the Ducks ASMR. You know what I'm saying? Wait. I got one for you.
Certain things you can expect. I like Jameis Winston. If you like Jameis, he's going to throw interception.
I love it.
I call it Jameis being Jameis. Gene is just Gene being Gene. He does certain things.
Gene's gonna Gene, bro. You know what I'm saying?
Gene got a Gene. But I will say this, Carl, if you don't mind me kind of piggybacking on this. I know Jody made a great point with the layers. Synthetic fibers are your friend. I don't do the cotton, because cotton is hard to, if it gets wet or you start to sweat into that, you're gonna stay wet.
Cotton is rotten, is the way that you remember it.
That's how you remember it. I like that. I'm gonna use that, Jody. Cotton.
Sorry that we're not sponsored by the cotton manufacturer.
I can't wear cotton shirts as like a base.
In the infamous words of Dolomite, cotton draws. Cotton draws. You know I don't wear cotton draws.
Yeah, we're gonna have to cut that part out. Also, if you are gonna be layering up, you're gonna have a bag, but make sure you get a bag that can keep all your scarves, your hats, your gloves, keep all that together in a bag, so that, to Jody's point, when it warms up during the day, you're gonna have to take all that stuff off, and when it starts to cool off again, but you got to put it back in there, right? Nothing's worse than reaching for some gloves and you lost the glove because it fell out your pocket. I mean, that happened to me on a run, right? So you don't want that. So I was running around with one glove, and Gene was like, "Who are you, man? Michael Jackson?" And I'm like, "No, man, I'm trying to
didn't say that.
keep this one hand cold, because the other one, I don't know where the glove's at." So there you go.
Lonnie G, I'm not Michael Jackson. I will. There is something to be said, though. Disney does prepare their merch if it does get cold and you're unprepared. So they will take care of you.
Disney's gonna Disney.
It's good. So this lovely ensemble that I have on, this hat and these gloves were an emergency purchase because it was darn cold. And I don't even want to tell you what I spent on these babies because they were not
$400.
cheap. They're good quality. The pom poms can get in the way when you put a jacket on or something underneath, over top, but probably not what I would have bought given the fact that I have 20,000 hats and gloves at our house. I just should have been smart and packed some. So I would say, like John was saying, if the weather looks like it's going to dip at all, bring the stuff. If you don't need it, you don't need it. But it's good to have it.
Jody,
and Jody can testify this as well. You remember, Jody, in California we were running. We didn't think it was going to drop down, but it was cold in the morning, so I ended up having to go buy gloves. You remember, from the boot, and Disney will sell them to you, and they will be at a premium. But I had to go buy some gloves because I left all my running gloves and stuff because checking the forecast is supposed to be warm. But California just dipped down, and we were running in the morning. It was cold.
It was cold.
Oh, dry cold.
As you're talking about this, it makes me think that most of the hats and the gloves that I own are not. They weren't a purchase that I made thinking ahead. They were a purchase I made because I needed it to be out in the cold, and I realized I didn't have that, or was surprised by the temperature or something, and so I had to go find a store that had hats and gloves or whatever.
As a bald fella, I always have a winter hat in my backpack. Like I'm always prepared, 'cause especially where I live in Detroit, right? It's cold 8 months out of the year, so you have to be prepared up here.
See, that's the nice thing about being a man. You can just throw a hat on your head. You don't have to worry about it. You don't have to worry about going into a meeting and then having your hair go crazy.
Yeah, Jody, a lot of men though have hair, and they are meticulous about it, right? You don't. Those guys, yeah, Gene. You don't want to go like that. Yeah. See, Lonnie knows.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to have to redo that every time he takes his hat off.
I know.
Scuff the do. Scuff. You don't want to scuff
But
the
yeah.
do.
So another fun thing though that you can do at Disney when it's cold out is explore some of the resorts. That's another fun thing. It's inside, and you can walk around and see some really cool sights, especially if you're there around Christmas time. You can go resort to resort, check out the different trees, go over to the yacht club and beach club and check out, don't they have like the eggs there and stuff? Oh no, that's at Easter. But wait.
I think you crossing the streams, John.
I am. Okay. Well, but you can go look at the gingerbread house.
The gingerbread house?
Meridian. Yeah.
Yeah.
You can do, there's a lot of fun things to do indoors, and you can even go like bounce around and do your own monorail crawl. We've talked about that on previous shows of, there's a lot of cool lounges with good food, good drinks around the monorail. That's something fun that you could do that's all indoors, and would keep you warm and having fun. So without being out at the parks all night.
Yeah.
What else do you guys like to do when it's cold?
Let me ask this to you guys. So I'm gonna put you on the spot. What are your two favorite parks to go to when it's cold? Because in my opinion, some parks aren't good to visit when it's cold. But that's just my opinion. So, Jody, when it's cold, what are your two favorite parks to visit, and why?
I don't know that I change my park visiting up for temperatures. I'm not sure that I do. Like when it's hot outside, I just bring my cooling fans, and when it's cold, I just bundle up. I don't know that the one thing I will say though is the roller coasters, like the Expedition Everest, for example, that will take you from cold to colder in a nanosecond because you're already outside and there's a little bit of that water element, and then you're going backwards and it's kind of fast. So if you're cold, that's not one of those that you want to get on because you're going to get colder. So that would be one of those that I think when it's. But I don't know that I change my perks for weather.
Okay.
I don't know. What about you guys?
What about you, John? What are your two favorite parks when it's cold, and why?
Well, go ahead, Gene.
No, Jody, you said something about it being colder, going backwards. I'm curious about that. Is there going backwards have something to do with being colder that I'm not
I
sure
don't know.
about?
I just feel like when you're sitting up there, it's when you're on Expedition Everest and you're just sitting there waiting for it to go backwards and you're cold and you're
Oh,
shivering
okay.
and then
Wait.
all of a sudden you go backwards and you're in the dark and then it's colder. I don't know. Maybe it's mental, but I feel like it's cold.
I thought it was a time travel thing or something going backwards. I
Oh,
didn't know.
maybe. I don't know.
I mean, it is colder when you get out to the top of the mountain, right? To Everest. It is colder up there. So
You're at a higher altitude. There's no
Yeah.
wind. There's no
Yeah.
wind protection.
yeah.
Exactly.
Well,
Yes.
so what about you, John?
All right,
What's your two favorite and why?
Well, I'm gonna say number one would be Epcot because I think there's a lot of those fun, the Seas with Nemo and stuff. You can go through that little aquarium they have there. There's a lot of the fun videos at each of the countries that you can go in, like Canada, and you can go into the France Pavilion and see the Beauty and the Beast sing along. There's a lot of really cool things to do inside around the countries and over in the old Future World section. So I think that's my favorite. And then you can stay warm with a few drinks, which is a nice little bonus as well. I think besides that, I'd probably say Magic Kingdom for similar reasons. There's some cool rides that are indoors. You can go into Monsters Inc. Laugh Floor. You can go into the Belle Storybook thing. Check out PhilharMagic, those kind of rides. And then you still have like the attractions like Peter Pan and Small World and Pirates. They're all inside, right? So I like all that. I like Magic Kingdom a lot. I think there's a lot to do there when it's raining or when it's cold.
Good answers. Good answers. I have the exact same two parks, but I'm going to tell you my reasons why in a second. Gene, what about you? What are your two favorite parks, or what parks do you like to go to when it's really cold?
Yeah, so my two favorite parks are Hollywood Studios anyway, and I don't know, and Animal Kingdom. Maybe the weather might affect the animals. I don't know, but I'm going to say Epcot and Hollywood Studios.
Okay.
That's
So
my story.
my
I'm
answers, that's
sticking to
good. That's
it.
really good answers. My answers was exactly with John, right? Because Epcot, number one, they got the pavilions and some of the rides they
Mhm.
have, like Ratatouille, like Frozen
Mhm.
after they're inside, right? So you can go from the pavilions, you're
If you
inside,
get
you can do
there.
all that, and it kind of in how it's built, just going around World Showcase, it kind of gives you a little bit of wind protection, right? It just does because of you walking on the inside of that. Um, Magic Kingdom, the same reason why. I mean, Main Street, you can go into the first store and walk way down, right? You can stay inside the whole time if you would like. So that's the same my favorite park when it's kind of raining a little bit too, because I can just stay inside and kind of walk. You could traverse the park pretty easy from the inside through Magic Kingdom if you're going through the stores. I avoid Animal Kingdom a lot because Animal Kingdom to me is made for the outside, right? I mean, there's not a lot of
Mhm.
places to go to give you shade, or when it's hot, it's super hot there. When it's cold,
Yeah.
it's super cold there. And then, like you said, Kilimanjaro safaris and stuff like that, the animals are probably like somewhere bundled up under the tree of life. I don't know where they are.
His little
But
sweater's on.
yeah, so they're doing that. They're like, the animals like, it's weather, so they're not out. And then to your point, Jody, Expedition Everest is cold already because it's so fast, and then when you're going back, it's even faster and it's colder, right? So I kind of avoid, if I could, Animal Kingdom. And the studios, as much as I love the studios, and it's one of my favorite parks, that wind that comes through for some reason at that park is the worst. I don't know what it is, but it's like a wind tunnel that hits you when you first walk in there, and it just continually blows a lot. For some reason, I don't know why, is my imagination is windier there than any other park. I don't know. I could be crazy, but
It's all those
I
crazy
kind of
dead ends they have there. There's too many dead ends at Hollywood Studios. So
yeah, and maybe that's why the wind gets stuck in there and kind of whirls
Mhm.
around or something. I don't know, but like John, I love Epcot and Magic Kingdom if it's cold or raining.
Yeah, those ones, they're both really good. But I mean, really, like Gene, you said, you can find stuff to do at all of the parks. And like you guys were mentioning earlier, if you have the layers and you're dressed appropriately, really there's no bad weather. There's just bad, clothing decisions. So
I would say, though, the other thing that John briefly mentioned, and I would like to throw it out there for a little bit of a longer discussion, is food and beverage. So there are times when things sound better than others. For example, a hot bowl of clam chowder does not sound super appealing in the middle of July. I love Columbia Harbor House, but not ordering chowder in July. A hot bowl of chowder when it's cold outside sounds really appealing when you're cold. It's something about warming your insides. So I think you can find maybe some things that you wouldn't enjoy or wouldn't order during the summer months or the hotter months, and you can actually try those during the winter months. Um, and there's also beverages that I do know, for cruise line, for example, when it's colder out, they have hot chocolate carts everywhere. They know it's colder, they bring out the hot chocolate carts. And I think Disney World does the same. When it's colder, instead of saying, they're going to have some pop-up carts to try to keep you warmer. Kind of like if you go to a baseball game in June in San Francisco. Have any of you ever done this?
A baseball game in San Francisco?
Yeah, in the summer.
Yeah, when I was a little kid, I did.
So they wear backpacks of hot chocolate and coffee and serve it out of like these packs of coffee that they serve you because it's so cold there in baseball games in the summer. So yeah, they have stuff like that they add to the parks when it's cold, and those little pop-up opportunities are can just warm you when you're nice and chilly.
Warm you in body and soul.
Exactly.
I mean, who doesn't want a hot chocolate while looking at Disney Christmas decorations, right?
Or Festival of the Arts, or even spring flower and garden. I mean, it could be cold all the way through, April when you're there. So
yeah. And I mean, another good tip is you probably don't want to ride Tiana's Bayou when it's cold out.
Or Kilimanjaro safaris. Yeah, no.
Yeah. It's not a great idea. You think it sounds refreshing, but it's not. All right. Any other tips or ideas of things to do or ways to keep warm at Disney? No? All right. Well, I think we gave some pretty good ideas of things that you can do if it's cold out, how to dress if it's going to be cold out, and just the crazy Florida weather is unpredictable. So if you're going in the winter, just throw a hoodie in your bag and at least have that. But now I think we're going to move on from keeping you warm to warming your soul with laughter as we quack up with the ducks. Lonnie, what do you got for us tonight?
Well, it's probably not going to quack you up, but it quacked me up. So I guess the question is, why is it cold at Christmas?
I don't know. Why?
Because it's in December.
Oh. Good one.
Oh, boy. Jody, what do you got?
So what often falls but never gets hurt?
I don't know.
You got it, Gene?
I don't know. What is it?
Snow.
Should have known the
Very
theme.
good one.
See?
I thought about it. I should have just pulled the trigger and said it.
Should have just guessed.
Man. Gene, what do you got for us? Something funny?
Yeah. You know what you call a snowman's dog, right? A slush puppy, bro.
That's a really good one. All right. Well, yeah, because we're talking about winter. Why did the girl keep her saxophone out in the snow? So she could play cool jazz.
Oh, nice. Hey, do you know a bonus one? You know what Lonnie goes to the barbershop for in the wintertime? A cold cut. A cold cut.
We are funny.
We are pretty funny, and hopefully you all think we're funny as well, and you give us a 5-star review to show your appreciation for all that laughter we give you. They say every time you giggle, it adds 7 years to your life. I might have just made that up, but it could be true, and if it is, we're giving you guys a lot of extra life. Yes. So Gene, this wasn't a controversial episode, but I'm sure the attorneys are going to have something to say.
As a matter of fact, they do. This episode of Disney with the Ducks has been a frigidly fantastic discussion brought to you by John, Jody, Lonnie, and Gene. While our advice on tackling cold weather at Walt Disney World may sound as magical as Olaf enjoying summer, please note that results may vary based on your tolerance for chilly temperatures, unforeseen frostbite risks, and your ability to pull off the layered look without resembling a waddling duck yourself. Disney with the Ducks cannot be held responsible for frostbitten fingers on your churros, hypothermic stumbles during a rope drop, or the emotional devastation of discovering your favorite attraction is closed due to the icy apocalypse of a Florida cold front. Guests are encouraged to pack for all seasons because Florida weather may change faster than Genie Plus wait times. Side effects of following this podcast advice may include overpacking, scarf envy, or the sudden realization that Lonnie's definition of cold involves anything under 70 degrees. Gene's tips are 99% guaranteed to be correct because he is, in fact, the heart and soul of this podcast, and John and Jody are here to keep everyone grounded while Lonnie just tries to be funny. Thank you for joining us on this chilly adventure. Remember, when in doubt, layer up and grab a hot cocoa, preferably before your fingers freeze to the cup. Stay warm, stay magical, and always quack up with us next time.
Man, those lawyers are cold-blooded.
They are, aren't they? I'm going to have a talk with them. I don't like that.
All right, Quaharini, everybody.
Bye, friends.
Word.
Bye.
It's too hot in my house.
Well,
Yeah,
turn.
but it's a dry heat.